everyone, and welcome to the In-Depth Genealogist Chit Chat Live for the week of June 28th, 2016. Today, we will be talking about the latest episode of Genealogy Roadshow, which was filmed in Los Angeles, California. I hope you are all ready. Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Combs-Bennett. I am the creative director for the In-Depth Genealogist, and so happy to be back after being gone for several weeks. Woohoo!
Yay, it's glad to have you back.
Thanks, everyone.
We missed you.
Oh, that's very sweet. So I'm pleased to welcome our guests this evening. First, we have Melissa Barker, archivist from down in Houston County, Tennessee. How are you today, Melissa?
I'm doing really good, doing good. We had a great day in the archives today.
Awesome.
Processed some photographs today, so wore my white gloves today.
Ooh, white gloves. All fancy schmancy. And next we have Sherry Hudson-Passy of Carolina Girl blog, who joins us from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Great to have you with us, Sherry. How are you today?
Great, nice, beautiful day here today.
Oh, that's nice.
Got to go walk on the beach this morning in the rain, but that cleared up and now it's beautiful.
Oh, well, I'm kind of jealous. Next, we have Terry O'Connell, who is actually our executive director here at the In-Depth Genealogist. Hey, Terry, how are you today?
Hey, Shannon, glad to have you back. You've been missed.
Thank you. Valerie Eichler-Lair is next, last but not least, of course, of Val's Roots, based out of Alberta Lee, Minnesota. Hey, Val, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. It was a perfect day. No humidity, which is something in Minnesota, well, in the Midwest period.
Midwest.
So, yeah, it was great. It was nice. I even sat out on the deck to do some work.
Well, that's makes me jealous, too. It's been one of those
There was no
days
wind, so the
around here.
papers wouldn't fly away.
Well, it's been kind of sprinkly here in Virginia today, so there was no going for walks or sitting outside. But that's fun. So let's take a few minutes before we get started talking about Genealogy Roadshow this week and talk about what's going on in the genealogy world at large. Hopefully everyone heard that Drew Smith has a new podcast, Genealogy Connection, and it has released its first recording. How do you think about that? Pretty cool, huh?
That's cool. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, in it he is going to be, he interviews, if you haven't heard it yet, Jessica Daly Taylor of Legacy Tree Genealogists. So has anyone got to listen to it yet? 'Cause I haven't.
I did. I listened to it. It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yep,
So
it was great.
So Jen got to meet Jessica at Roots Text this year and said that she had a wonderful time talking to her. Jen may be joining us in a little bit. She's a little preoccupied right now. And she thought it was great getting to know her a little bit more for the Genealogy Business Alliance and thinks that she's an awesome, awesome person. So she wanted me to put that little thing in there for her. But I'm excited about the new podcast. So all my infinite time of listening, right?
Yeah.
Do you sleep with headsets on to listen to podcasts and webinars?
I drive a lot, so it's in my car. Yeah. So, Val, since you're the last one to talk, I hear you had a family research breakthrough this week.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Make it a what everyone calls it, you know.
Really compact, I know, because we could be here for days. No, Sunday night into the wee hours, I was up. I finally crawled into bed at 4:30 a.m., but it was about 11:30 p.m. when I found my mom's birth mom.
That's exciting.
A photograph of her that when it first popped up, that was the first thing I looked at. I fell on the floor because it looked just like one of my siblings.
Wow.
And then when you compare a younger folder of my mom with it, in fact, someone had done an overlay for me. That's even more remarkable. But yeah, so I met a new second cousin, biological, and it's taken me back to 2 more generations too.
Oh,
of course,
how
we have
exciting!
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's like, but to find my mom's mom, I mean, I've been through all kinds of emotions this week: excitement, exhaustion, tears of joy, tears of sadness that I didn't get a chance to meet her, but it's all good. Yeah.
So how many years have you been working on this?
28 years.
Oh gosh.
So there is hope for the rest of us who have brick walls and problems and all
Yeah,
kinds of
that's
things.
right. Well, what really just very quick. I went to my files, and these 32, 33 pages of court documents and the school records that had been sitting in my file cabinet all these years, that was one of my goals this year's work on Mom. And I had just finished going through every single word of every single one of those documents, and so Sunday night was, all right, get on and look. And it's funny because the first 2 hours I was so frustrated. My son had text or called, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm so frustrated right now." And so as soon as we hung up, I came straight back here and went on Ancestry and widened the search,
Right.
and
Wow.
bingo.
That's
Wow.
fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Well,
so my mom's name is Lillian.
ooh,
Aw.
that's awesome. So, in other good news, we want to welcome Sherry as our new writer for IDG.
Woohoo!
Yay!
So, you want to tell us what your column's going to be about?
I'm going to do some methodology. Is
Great.
what I'm going to. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to call it a little dose of meth, but we thought that maybe.
When she told me that, I said, "Well, we call advanced methodology course from SLIG advanced math." So
That's funny.
I loved that. That's great.
Oh, that's funny. So, in other big news, I've been told that I need to let everyone know that I have a new book coming out called Genealogy Basics in 30 Minutes. Please don't roll your eyes.
30 minutes,
Because-
huh?
Just because
Yeah.
well, it's by a company called In 30 Minutes, and
Ah.
the goal of all of their books are to be brief. This is the basics to get you off and running.
Right.
So nothing in depth, nothing but the bare bones minimum to give you a background to feel like you can now go out and do something on your own.
Mhm.
So,
Awesome.
yep.
That's
So
great.
it comes out September 7th, but it is in pre-order right now. You can order it on Amazon or at genealogyin30minutes.com off the website. So pretty cool.
Awesome.
Very cool. Very
Congratulations.
cool.
A year of work.
In
Wow.
30 minutes.
In 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's like this in 30 minutes.
So before we move on to the show, we wanted to let everyone out there in the YouTube world know that there are some deals this weekend because it is the 4th of July. So real quick, there are a couple things that we want to make sure you know. Ancestry DNA has a sale until Monday, July 4th for $79 for an Ancestry DNA kit. So if you haven't done it yet, start swabbing.
Do it. Spit. Do it.
Spit.
Because that's what helped push me over the edge for my huge brick wall.
That's right. And also, Find My Past is having a free weekend until the 6th. And there is like buku amounts of records out there at Find My Past. Find My Past. That was a Freudian slip on my ancestry, wasn't it?
Speed talking.
So there are UK, US, and Irish records available, including their brand new naturalization records and passport applications. So if you have immigrant ancestors, make sure you go check it out. So now that all the news is done, unless I've missed anything, last chance. All right. Chance over. Let's get on to the show. So, boohoo, season finale, so sad.
Yeah.
But it happened in a really nice place. I thought the architecture was really nice. I've never been to LA, but it looked pretty. Maybe I'll visit one day.
They showed the nice parts.
That's right, the nice parts.
When they said beautiful beaches, I'm going, okay, yeah, they showed one.
So, story one was about the Schwab family pharmacy, which was absolutely fascinating. I know Terry said that she had a couple things she wanted to make sure that we talked about, and she wanted to point out for us.
Well, the first thing that really stood out for me was the alternate spelling for the Schwab name. I don't speak any foreign languages, so I I'm sure it probably sounds like Schwab, but I thought the SVOUV was a bit, I don't know. I don't see it, so it was hard for me to grasp, but I guess it does make those sounds. But just to point out that you need to be looking for those alternate spellings. It's not always the way we think it is. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit that they put in there. I did a little bit of Google searching on the Schwab surname to see if I could find that listed as an alternate spelling, and I did not. But, you know, you never know. But the whole, I loved this whole story just because it showed what a strong woman this Lena was. I mean, here we are, it's 1920s. Her husband dies. And 4 years later, the drugstore is in the directory, you know?
Yeah, she did
No,
some amazing things.
Yeah, I mean, and I believe it started out as everything was kind of in the son's name, but her probate records come to tell you the true story that her and Jacob were equal owners and co-partners in the drug, liquor, and whatever else they did.
Yeah.
And that she would, and as Mary said at the end, that Lena was the driving force behind Schwab Pharmacy. It was an amazing story just to get all that. We want to go into how all the drugstore was across from the movie places. I can't even think tonight.
Hollywood.
The studio.
The studios.
Hollywood Studios.
Studios. And that they, you know, were serving the, you know, the who's who.
Right.
The who's who in Hollywood. I mean, that's amazing in itself. But Lena was definitely a woman before her time.
I liked how they said at the end that she was no longer just a name on a piece of paper.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
they knew her now. They knew what she had done, and they would look at her name totally different from now on.
Well,
On the
then-
one daughter, it's more. It's a movie, and
Yes.
it really, truly is
Yes.
a movie. I mean, could you imagine? That would be an awesome movie.
Mhm.
Well, when Mary said, well, with this information and the records, you know, the probate records and so forth, you can almost rewrite history
Yes.
to correct the history on it.
The history of the store is
Right.
slighted, you know.
My favorite part was when they showed the map of the original Lena's birthplace in 1877. Of course, I wrote separate notes from that because, mind you, I'm just coming off of finding this huge find, and the new grandparents and great-grandparents were Germans and went to Russia and then Belarus. So when I saw that map, I mean, and it's like, oh gosh, and, you know, and this was Tuesday, you know, this happened on, you know, in the wee hours of Monday, and this is Tuesday. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, so you never know when you're going to find out more information or that historical little tidbit.
The stars align for you this week, Val.
It must be. It must be. Thank goodness it's not the Mercury retro stuff.
Do you have anything you'd like to add, Melissa?
I'm actually, as I was watching this particular segment, I guess my genealogy mind was just telling me, you know, the use of city directories in a lot of these shows and in a lot of podcasts and webinars that people are doing now. I can think back, and it really hasn't been that long ago, when city directories were not one of those main record sources that you would go to or know to go to. And so I think over time they've been highlighted to the point now that it's now on that list of census records, birth records, death records, you know, city directories. And I really like that because they have always been such a go-to source. And I'm just glad that they've become more popular, I guess.
Right. It's a great resource for putting your ancestor in a time and a place, which is what we're trying to do, right, as genealogists. So.
Well, with census and then the 10 years in between, and, you know, it just matches, and that's what I did to prove the lady in Chicago, because there was two at the same time, and which one was mine. So, I guess I always thought everybody used city directories. Melissa, let's like standard operating procedure.
Yeah, but I guess I can remember a time when you didn't hear them talked about as much as you
I think it's
have
like
in
the
the
last
last.
like 5 years. You've heard a lot
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Wow.
I did make note that at the point when she brought up the first, or to talk about the first city directory, on the screen is a census record. I only would notice that because I'm doing start and stop on the recording.
That's funny. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
But it was there. But I couldn't enlarge it big enough to find out which census year. That just
Well,
goes to show, even when they were doing that, how they would clip.
yes, definitely. Definitely. So we're moving on to the next story. Is everyone ready?
Hmm.
This one was about how the woman thought that her great-grandfather was the first African-American college graduate. And without sounding terrible, I kind of went, oh, Kenyatta's going to school her.
And she did it in a nice way.
She did it in a very nice way, but I was like, those dates, they don't add up.
No.
But he did do some amazing first things. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I not to say what his accomplishment diminish his accomplishment. There you go, because he did
Yeah.
some pretty
Yes.
great things. So I can see how maybe he was the first one in their family. Maybe
Right.
that's how it
That's what
got,
I
you
was
know.
thinking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm wondering how the grapevine effect on the family history happened. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're right. His accomplishments: reverend,
Yes.
editor,
yes,
teacher.
yes,
And starting out on a farm, as a farm
Yes.
laborer in South Carolina, to go to that
oh yeah,
stage, to be able to go to college, to be able to teach. He taught for 18 years, and that in and of itself is amazing.
And they said that
Absolutely.
he taught black and white
And
students.
which is what,
And
yeah.
wow.
Of course, I liked how they pointed out and talked about the Freedmen Bureau schools. So I don't think a lot of people actually know all of the things that the Freedmen's Bureau actually did.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that that piece of information was put out there, especially since Family Search was doing all those Freedmen's Bureau records.
Right.
Right, Valerie?
Right.
Right, and they've now finished them. Millions, and the indexing, it's all done. All online at FamilySearch.org, free.
Yeah. So go check them out. I know they started that at Roots Tech, so I'm completely amazed how
Yeah,
quickly
it took-
it was all finished.
Yeah, a little over a year, or maybe exactly a year, but yeah, that was.
A year. It was this.
Oh wait,
year.
no,
That's right,
January.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, February, March,
February,
April, May,
February.
June, 5 months ish.
Yeah.
I'm thinking last year. For
Yeah,
sake.
no.
It's crazy. So you know that a lot of people got behind that and were really busting the cap in their
Oh, yeah.
butts to get it all done. That's awesome. And it just shows you the power of teamwork and the power of
Okay.
community.
Yes.
Well, wasn't it a lot had to do with the 24-hour marathon indexing?
Huge
Yeah.
amount then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's way over what they expected, I believe.
But yeah, I thought that was an amazing story. But what even more amazing, that was the photo morgue, right, Melissa?
Yes. But I think we're going to talk about Sarah next.
Is she
Against
next?
the photo. Yes, Sarah's next.
Okay, then I have
Ellis Island.
Ellis
my.
Island.
I skipped Valerie because Valerie was very excited about the Ellis Island name
Yes.
change.
Oh my gosh! No, go ahead and chat, but no, unless you're ready.
Talk
We'll-
amongst yourselves.
I loved it because Josh finally got the opportunity to correct the error that was a season before last when they said, names were changed. Obviously that was incorrect. So he goes, well, let me tell you. So we had to confront a huge myth in genealogy. I mean, well, I have the quote word for word here, but, it was a great piece because he explained very slowly, because normally he talks really fast and you can't. And it's like, wait,
Yeah.
yeah. And but family names and surnames were not changed, and he explained that there were trained individuals in various languages who were experts waiting to talk to the new immigrants. So, and my dad came through Ellis Island in February of 1925, and the spelling is not, that's a myth. And so, but I like how he then went to say, though, that many times after Ellis Island, sometime later, they would anglicize their names.
Mhm.
And a long time ago, I read, I think it had to have been The Source, where I remember a specific sentence that Polish would change their names to German sounding because they heard that they got better jobs. That has stuck in my head out of every sentence in that book. And so, because she, Polish ancestry.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, very, very well done. So yeah.
Awesome. See,
Very
I'm
good.
jealous. I have no Ellis Island ancestors.
I don't
I
either.
don't either.
No, I don't either.
I do. Look at you, Dan.
Yay! Well, think of how I feel when you guys are talking about, the Mayflower and Salem witch trials in Massachusetts, and I'm going, oh man, I want to adopt. But yeah, it's one thing it reminded me, though, because I forgot it from a long time ago. I have American immigrant experience from a book for Ellis Island, but it reminded me where they said the officials went on board and anybody that was sick was taken off to Inspection Island, and I, of course, brought out the tissues. I started crying because my dad was fine. He wasn't sick, thank goodness, but I know of all the different stations they had to go through, and X's were marked on their coats or their clothing for if they passed, and then past that inspection point. And one of them was where they took, it used to use a button hook for shoes. They would use that for the eye. Yeah, I mean, it's unreal. But so I felt, and then the little boy, a year and a half, died 4 days later.
I know.
It just, but being from Poland, did you notice too that on the death certificate at that time, they indicated Austria as a place of birth? So I thought that was interesting for that.
Because it would have been part of the Austria-Hungary Empire.
Yes.
Yes.
So all these little historical tidbits.
History is important.
Yes.
Yes.
Those borders changed a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it does, and that's been a big, huge thing that's been emphasized.
Correct.
What did you all think about the family was detained because parentheses likely public charge?
Because
Because they were poor, probably. They didn't want
Yes.
them to be a burden on society.
Right.
a public
Yeah.
burden. Mm-hmm.
And
That's
the
right.
thing is, a lot of times the ship captains, they only wanted to transport healthy. So I'm going to guess they probably got on the ship healthy because
Yes.
they would have been responsible for transporting the immigrant back if they were sent back, and they didn't want to do that. So
There were some that
died.
were, there were some that were put in an area that had to go back. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? Oh,
Making this journey? And I loved the part, I wrote it too, he took her from village to, the port through the Adriatic Sea. I wrote all that because, that's affecting me in my research and ancestors. But can you imagine going that whole way and then only, you have to go back on the next ship? It's like,
That'd be awful. Awful.
but that's what happened. Yeah, it's. But it was good
Not
that
good.
that she got admitted to the U.S.
Yeah. Definitely good. So now we can talk about the photo more. Right, Melissa?
Yes, yes, yes. First of all, though, this was Shannon. He was a man,
Mhm.
and he found a family scrapbook
An
in
awesome scrapbook.
his grandmother's
Mm.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes,
I believe so.
and they talked about Ironton, Ohio, and I can tell you that my grandmother grew up in Ironton, Ohio.
Ah,
Her maiden name was Drummond. So that was pretty interesting to me. But then Josh went and visited UCLA
Yeah.
and visited the photo morgue. And so it's one of the things that I teach in my presentations and webinars is when you visit a repository, ask about a photo collection.
Mhm.
Because it's not going to be out in the open. It's not something that they're going to say, here's photographs, look at them.
right.
And, they'll have photo collections and ask about unidentified photographs. Because repositories like my archives, we have a whole collection of unidentified photographs. Now, it may be that you don't have a photograph of your ancestor, so you're not going to be able to pick it out. But if you do have a photograph of your ancestor and you know what they look like, you can look in the unidentified photographs and maybe find your
Oh,
ancestor, another picture of your ancestor.
Mhm.
And so, photographs. Ask about photographs when you go research.
And
Well,
I liked his tip as well, where he said, don't go unprepared. Don't just walk in and say, show me all your photographs. If you
Yes.
know
be
what
prepared.
churches if you knew they were belonged to this particular church or this organization or lived in this tiny part of town, have that on a list and see if they've got pictures of those things. So
Right.
you're not
Wasn't
I
just
it
know.
looking
awesome?
for everything.
Yes.
Wasn't that one photo awesome when it was the 1940
Yes,
census
census.
enumerators? Oh, oh.
Right.
Yes.
He says, I'm watching a genealogy record being produced.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
now I'll say if you want to see more photographs like that, make sure you go out to the Library of Congress
Oh, that.
photo
Yes.
archives online because they have a lot of the various different parts of processing the census record,
Mm-hmm.
which are
that's
pretty
cool.
cool.
And if
And
you,
Jennifer has joined us. Woo,
Yay!
Jennifer! So
Hi
sorry.
everyone.
I'll
Hi, Jen.
also I'll also add about photograph collections in repositories. I know in our collections and how we and what I forgot who said it was talking about come prepared with the name of a surname or the organization or whatever. We organize our photographs and label them in file folders by surnames and then by subjects. So it could be the name of a school, name of a church, name of a business, and so yeah.
if you have a chance to go to Colorado, the Denver Public Library, the Western History and Genealogy Collection, their photo morgue is incredible. And it's not just Colorado. That's why it's called Western History
Mhm.
Collection. And a lot of them have been digitized and put on the Denver Public Library website.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
That's
There,
one. That's one thing that if a repository has been able to digitize anything, they usually start with their photographs because that's most impactful for researchers. So,
yeah.
love photographs.
For those going to FGS, the Abraham Lincoln Memorial Library has a photo room. And you have some of the stuff is out. You kind of have to again ask for what you're looking for, and some of the stuff they have is amazing.
Awesome.
So it's definitely worth the trip up. I think it was upstairs to go and take a look.
Pretty cool. I wish I was going to FGS now. So after the photo morgue segment, we went on to the little snippet stories, where there was a couple. Specifically, I know some of you thought that the voter registrations segment was awesome. I heard Valerie go, oh, so that means she's used them.
I've used the California Great Registry, yeah. They have personal descriptions like height, color of hair, color of eyes, physical features like this one I looked up, mole or half finger from the knuckle cut off or amputated or
Wow.
whatever. But I mean, very descriptive.
For
So
voter registration?
yes, you get a lot more than
Wow.
just
Wow.
names and ages.
I would not have pictured
I
that.
would have,
Yeah, the
I'm going to do that.
Do they really?
Who
What'd you
does?
say, Terry?
Chicago needed to do that.
Oh, I know.
Well, yeah, because people were voting multiple times, right?
After they were dead?
But yeah, it's fun just to even look at it, even if you don't have anybody. But I did some research, with it, and then used it as one of my alternate to census records, census substitutes, using that, and with anything. But yeah, it's really cool, descriptive. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with Jen. That's something I would have never have thought about.
Info.
And so the other little tidbit section was about home births. So I have home births in my family tree.
I'm sure we all
I do
do.
too.
I think we all do.
I do too.
Living
Well,
in
okay,
the
how
South,
about
yes, we
this?
do.
How about recent home births, which are very annoying when you can't find delayed birth records? But I
Yeah,
thought,
both my sisters were born at home.
Really?
wow.
Yeah, my mom was a brave woman.
I was the only one born in the hospital out of 5 kids. So.
Oh my God, Val.
Yeah, but their birth records were recorded in the county. So.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Terry? I didn't hear you.
I said to Jen, I don't know if that's brave or crazy.
Or stupid.
Well,
No, I was
well,
just
she'd
kidding.
already had me, so she knew she could do it.
Yeah.
She was in that, she was in that whole natural childbirth
Mhm.
thing, and
Yeah,
it was
I did
actually
Being a hippie.
being a kid. It was pretty neat because otherwise I probably wouldn't have gotten to see my sister so soon after their birth. So that was kind of
really
neat.
gross.
Yeah, they were all cleaned up. She didn't let me be in there for the birth, thank God.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
That
I was
would've
just
scarred me
at
for life.
home, and then an hour into labor, get me to the hospital.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, I think that was a good short segment, but the one they talked about using baptisms to verify a birth. The one thing I wanted to add to that is to actually look for the midwife records. They had to keep records too. So check your local historical societies for stuff like that.
Cool. And that's something I wouldn't have thought about because, I had normal people who went to hospitals.
So Terry, can you repeat that? You said midwife records?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I've not seen any, but at the Irish Center when we have our meetings, that's one thing that always comes up. People are like, well, they had the babies at home,
Right.
and they're always told to look at the historical society, see if you can find the midwife records.
Now, now that I'm thinking about it, that's actually very interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of my New York City births for my husband because obviously they had in the city they had birth registrations for quite a while, and I have some 1880, 1890, and early 1900 births that weren't attended by a doctor, and it's listed as attended at birth Mrs. So and so, and they were all born in whatever apartment building they were living in Manhattan. So so now I'm gonna have to go look and see if I can find some for New York City. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I would also, and I don't know about northern states, but in the South here, home births usually were talked about in the newspaper. In our newspapers,
really?
we have what I call gossip columns, and the gossip columns were actually columns because, like in our county, we had like 30 different little communities, and each one had their own little column in the newspaper. You couldn't do this today, but they talked about, Mr. and Mrs. Jones went and had dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, on Saturday. But they talked about
that too.
Okay, but they would say in those columns, they would say, help us congratulate Mrs. So-and-so who's just had her baby.
Right.
So, they would mention that stuff. And even for up until just a few years ago, our hospital over here locally would list those who are in the hospital.
So this is when I say this is how small of a town I come from in Indiana because they still do that.
They still do. Our newspaper just quit that within the last 5 years because I guess they probably got told you can't do that anymore.
Well, I was kind of shocked because I was in Indiana over the weekend and I picked up the Sunday paper and it said, "Congratulations, the following new additions have arrived at the local hospital," and it was a listing of all the children that were born in the last week, and I was like, "What?"
Well, I want to add too, for the people who are, in the Midwest, more north than south, that those types of things hit the papers here too, because we have our local suburbs where I found like my great grandmother was baptizing baby number 4, and this was before baby number 4's birth record was released. So those records are out there.
Mm-hmm.
I do, Melissa, I laugh at them because I think that these newspapers are the soap operas of that era.
Oh yeah.
They are.
I mean, I go into the newspapers from where my mom is from, and I laugh. I laugh.
Yeah.
Grandma. So Grandpa got his driver's license on this date at the police department. Why did he go to the
Yes.
When my father-in-law got in a little fender bender, it's in the paper. I have it.
Well, you got your police.
Yeah, please, yeah, but yeah, for Terry to get experience in midwife records, I got some for Chicago for you to look up one midwife.
You need to go do some work, huh?
What?
So you need me to go do some work.
Yeah.
Throw me an email. I'll put it on that list of when I get into the city.
So after the short little snippet section, there was the really interesting old scrapbook that was brought out.
Yeah.
There were some. I have to say, my husband was watching the episode with me, and he was disappointed that they didn't discuss a lot of the pictures. For instance, when he is in the World War II military outfit, and they don't even, and he's listed as a major in some of those records, and they don't even discuss what he did. Yeah.
They did, and it landed on the cutting room floor.
Right.
Oh, I know. But he's like, if you're going to show the picture, talk about it.
Tell him to feel his pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a really interesting scrapbook. Lots of, even though, obviously it was a collateral line, it was still obviously, a good piece of social history there for you. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yes.
How many of you have come across things like that in your research? Like, oh, I was going through Grandma's stuff.
Wait, ready? Let me do this.
Is
Going through stuff.
that all the mom's stuff that you're going through?
Part of it is slowly coming up to my office in droves. I have a new filing cabinet and 2 over here and 2 more coming.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was not blessed with stuff.
Me neither.
So I'm so sad. I get so jealous of people who have stuff.
When my grandmother was in the hospital dying, she said, I want you to have my old pictures because you're the only one who cares about who these people are.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I do have her old photos and her photo albums, but nothing in comparison to what this guy looked through.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that was very cool.
The only thing I have like that is my mother and her parents. It must be an ingrained family trait from her father's side of the family, because I talked to my family last week and they're like, oh yeah, we keep everything. And we and I mean everything. Like I was throwing away receipts from 1980.
Oh, Lord.
No joke. I can tell you how much stuff was at Walmart in the 1980s.
I had receipts from the garage sale we had in Iowa before we moved to California.
Oh, good Lord.
My mom had kept the receipts.
Yep. So, but because of this, occasionally through the interesting things, you find the occasional gem, and I have found a couple photo albums and some scrapbooks that my grandmother had kept and that my mother had kept when she was little. So it's been interesting. So. You never know what you're going to find in people's attics.
No.
Or under their cabinets or in their drawers. Or
When I die, my kids are going to go through my stuff and be like, why does Mom have a potato masher in a plastic bin on a shelf?
That's funny.
Because it was my grandma's and I can't get rid of it.
Right.
I feel your pain. My husband feels your pain. This is when I say that before we go on to the next story, I have 2 children. Their wives are going to hate me, or their spouses, or whomever they marry, because I have 2 sets of silver, 2 sets of china, 2 sets of crystal, 2 silver coffee sets, 2 silver tea sets.
Good
Oh my
Lord.
gosh.
I have 2 of everything.
Like, I
No wonder you had to move to a big house.
Well, this is when I also say half of that is my husband's.
Ah.
So it's
Well,
not
Shannon,
just my family.
Shannon, they're either going to hate you or they're just going to sell it all and go on
It's
vacation.
like, there you go.
I already told them they have to keep it until I die.
Oh.
And then as long as I don't know, I'm fine.
that would be heart-wrenching.
That's right.
I also inherited Grandma's china. It's still sitting at my mom's house. She has now moved it from Alabama to Florida, so it's further away from me.
Oh dear.
Oh, no.
We have a small house. I have no room for it. I don't have a dining room. There's
Right.
no room in my kitchen.
Right. Yeah, I'm feeling your pain.
At least you have a big house.
Yeah, well, it won't be big for much longer.
I'd say with your dad moving in, that may all be different.
The movers will be here next week.
Hey, your little drawl came out there, girl.
Yeah, I
Yes,
know
it
it
did.
I noticed that.
Oh, you should have heard me last week. So anyway, let me talk proper again and get rid of my. So the last story was on someone that I was so excited. The whole reason I sat through the entire episode on pins and needles was about Annika Jans. Have y'all ever heard of Annika Jans before this episode?
I had not before this
I have
episode.
Bogardus.
Oh, y'all
I
are
haven't
killing
even
me.
heard the last name.
Y'all are killing me because this is when I say she's my 10th great grandmother.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yes.
So inquiring minds want to know, have you hired the attorney?
Yes. Well, this is when I say I'm descended from her first marriage.
Oh.
Yeah, so the not the important reverend.
So then you were really excited or could relate when Josh said that everybody wants a piece of this Annika. Yeah.
Well, I have studied her obviously in the past. She was one of my first famous ancestors that I found, and mostly because my great aunt Eliza Jane, who you all have heard me talk about before, was so excited because he didn't talk about this, and I'm kind of bummed that he didn't. Hopefully, he talked to her a little bit about it and was just cut. There is actually a false lineage for her.
We talked about that there were many
He
people.
mentioned, yeah.
He mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah,
Like there were many.
Yeah, so there is someone has falsely assigned her father as being of the House of Orange. So of the nobility family. They actually aren't quite too sure who her father is. Like they have documented proof of who her mother is, but not of exactly who her father is. And so many researchers, including my great aunt Eliza Jane, fell for the we're nobility thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, when I was in New York City a few years ago, I actually went around I stayed near Wall Street and went around. Is that me?
There you
I
go.
heard some humming.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went around Lower Manhattan. I stayed near Wall Street, took pictures there, went to Trinity. And then there is a small piece of the farm left that is a green space. So if you go out to my blog or on my social media accounts, you can find where I talked about walking around New York City, and I have pictures of the plaque from the farm. So
Cool.
it's pretty
Very
interesting.
cool.
Yeah. So
I'll have to tell TJ that because he was there a few weeks ago, and got pictures from there, but he didn't get the church. Darn it! But I'll have to tell him. Yeah, but I love how when Josh pulled up her will, and it's very detailed, and so forth. The guest, I don't know if you noticed, but the guest's eyes were just like glazed over. she was frowning. It's like show a little bit of excitement here.
My husband leaned
Really?
over to me, and he's like, "She just wants to know if she's related. Just tell her."
Yes. And we're all excited with Josh, going into
Yeah.
the will and everything.
Well, I have a translated copy because the will okay, so if you ever go do research in New York, in Albany, they have all the original New Amsterdam, New Holland records in the archives there in the vault.
How cool.
They've microfilmed them, so you can't actually see them unless you make a good case for them to go down to the vault and pull them. But you can look at all the microfilm there at the State Archives and Library, and of course it's all in Dutch. But they have books of their translations, which is nice. But so I thought it was neat that he showed it written in Dutch from the microfilm.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Because I've only ever seen the translation of her will.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. New Amsterdam, New Holland is pretty cool to research on.
Well, in January this year, when I was at SLIG, Salt Lake Institute, I took the New York research course.
Oh, yeah.
With Jane Wilcox and oh my gosh, don't slap me because I don't remember. But anyway, she was talking. Her portion was talked about. Oh, Karen Maurer Jones. Sorry, Karen. Don't watch this part, Karen. They were talking about New Amsterdam, and of course making reference to the big New York, Gazetteer, the book. But how. That's how I was reminded, or how I relearned, or even learned a whole lot of new stuff about the New Amsterdam. So this section, or this segment, was really interesting about that. And it cracked me up. He goes, "Well, you do know that New Amsterdam now is New York City," and she's going like, "She didn't have a clue, Josh." She wasn't at SLIG. No.
Oh, wow.
She didn't take the New York course.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
You're killing me here. Killing me. So that was the show. Does anybody have any last minute comments?
There's one more.
There's one more.
The name change and the jail time, the perjurer.
The scamp. The scamp, or whatever she said.
Scamp. Yeah, that was interesting. I kind of want to know why he picked that name.
Yeah. And they made such a big deal out of it. We have a second capitalized letter. I mean,
Yeah.
why?
So odd.
Yeah, it was very odd.
Well,
I saw it on a billboard somewhere.
Maybe.
and thought it sounded elegant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I have to give credence. Oh gosh, now who was the presenter for that one? I can't remember. It slipped my head.
Kenyatta.
It was Kenyatta. Okay, I was happy, and I found it interesting that she mentioned that sometimes they pick people they know, or family relatives, or things like that to change names. Because in my husband's family, there's a name change, and that's what he did. He picked his new surname to be his favorite sister's husband.
Oh.
So he picked her married name as his new surname when he, fell off the grid and assumed a new identity.
That is interesting.
So I was like, hey, look, there's more people who run into that. So it does happen. But of course, I have a nice 300-page pension file to explain to me why he changed his name. So.
Why he changed it.
Yes.
Well, it seems
Yeah,
this
they
guy
never-
did it because
They didn't
But he was-
explain why that name was picked,
Yeah.
why Duvan was picked. They
I
just
don't-
made the emphasis that the second capital letter. or
Right.
the-
I think
but-
it's because they couldn't figure out why. It didn't make sense, but perhaps the theory that he was running from the law, since he had so many children born in different states, he was moving a lot.
Maybe it was a combination of two names, and he insisted that the V be capitalized so it looked like it was a prefixed name. I don't know. I sitting here.
I thought about his poor wife. the one that he married while he was on the run, I guess, and that all of those children there were all born in different states. I wonder if she knew
Why?
what was going on, because I'm thinking, he's okay, we're going somewhere else, and we're having a baby over here, and we're having a baby over here. And I thought, that poor woman.
Now, I just want to say all my children are born in different states, but, that doesn't mean I'm running from the law or anything.
There's there was about 5 or 6 on his list.
All my one son is born in one state. Now, Sherry, she can say how many.
I've only got 3 states, not one for each child.
Yes, my one daughter was born in Tennessee.
That's right. Okay, ladies, is there anything else that
I'm going to start snorting because you're going to make me laugh so hard. Okay. I have one thing, because I didn't watch that episode, so that's why, except for a couple that name, my mind went wandering, thinking, well, maybe it's 2 names. Anyway. But at the end with the credits, and there were a lot of wikis. I know Melissa always looks for the list, for archives.
8 pages.
Yeah. 8 pages. I have to write that down. 8 pages of archives. But there were a lot of wikis.
I didn't look at. Yeah, I want to go back and look at them online, and I want to, because those could be references that we could use in our own research.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to write those down. I haven't. God, Lord knows I've just been busy. But
and you're going to make a list, and you're going to
yes,
send us each one of the laminated list, easily to add to.
Yes, sure.
Well,
don't run to your
mailbox. Yeah. But I just noticed, I saw, of course, all the archives, and the Jewish Gen website, and the Jewish archives. What's that called, Jennifer?
Which one?
The museum, or the national.
The Holocaust one?
I think so, yeah.
The U.S. Holocaust Museum, or might have been the Center for Jewish History. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check. But I was looking at just all the wikis. Oh my gosh! So, and those are all free access to get information from.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Valerie, I just thought of something, because I've not seen any of these online when they've come online. Are the credits at the end of the ones online too?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
that's why I can stop and hold, and of course it's the same 5. Well, besides the host, it's the same 5 main researchers on the team.
Okay.
And then you see the archives, and then it says, and thanks, or special thanks to, and that's where I look for colleagues, like in this one was Denise Levenick. Last week, I believe Maureen Taylor was on there. Another of, additional thanks to SoCal Genealogical Society. But yeah, they're all on there, and you can easily just hit that pause button, and there's the frame. But you have to hit. Yeah, I watched that first letter, waiting for it to change, and then I can hit the pause because they do fly by.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess that just popped out at me because I've seen all the archives and different libraries and so forth, but just a whole lot more of wikis on this one. So
interesting.
All right, ladies, we're at almost an hour, so.
Oh, we got another hour to go. Shannon?
No, I need dinner. Just saying. So,
Sherry and I will continue on.
Oh, okay. Have an after chat. Enjoy yourself. So, for everyone out there watching next week, we're going to be discussing brick walls that we've had. So, tune in. Maybe you can help us crush some of them. That would be kind of awesome. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes. So, remember, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line in the comments below. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or send us an old-fashioned email at editor@theinDepthGenealogist.com. And everyone, on that note, I hope you have a great day. And remember to go in depth with all of your ancestors. Bye.